On Poland Today, we talk to Poland's international community, people who have moved to Poland and made a difference. I'm your host, David Kennedy. To say Poland Today's guest is an international person is an understatement. A Slovak who came to Poland after many years in Mexico. She's transferred her business here and has had to readjust to life and languages in Central Europe. Lucia Medelská, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your invitation. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Well, great. And you've got a great story. And we'll talk in more detail about how you came back to Poland and brought your family here and managed with all of these languages that you have to manage. But first of all, let's maybe talk about business because you're involved in a sector of the economy which is growing quite significantly, aren't you?
Yes. I'm working in network marketing business, this entrepreneurship that is based on relationships, and it's really growing really fast because it gives us the opportunity to start a business with a small initial investment and grow on the way as you learn.
Okay,
the skills.
What are the kind of figures that we're talking about if we were looking at Poland? How much money goes into that market?
Yeah. In the world, it's like over $100 billion, but in Poland, it's about 1 billion. And it's growing fast because many people use it also as a second income. And as I told you, the initial investment is not big in comparison to classical business. And practically everyone can learn how to build these skills. It's a relationship-built entrepreneurship, and it's based on sales of a product that we ourselves use and believe that it can benefit others. And we support our customers.
All right, so it is a growing business, and who gets involved in it?
Anyone can, but curiously, 76% of entrepreneurs in this kind of business are women. Especially in Europe, it's very interesting. So it's very suitable for people maybe like me, mother, maybe even a foreigner, that we need to start over in a new country. Or build a side business while we're working. 68% of people build this business while they still work, for example, So they use it as a plan B, maybe, So these are more or less the numbers, so it's interesting.
So a lot of women and maybe people who have never done sales before. Do people then stay in it? Is there a kind of a fall off once people maybe find that there's some difficulties?
Of course, it's like in many businesses, you need to learn the skills. We say that it's a simple business. It's a simple work, but not easy. Because yes, you need to learn how to talk to people, how to build a relationship, how to sell. And yes, effectively, there are many people that start or stay very low or they go out. But it's like with everything in life, I think when we build with consistency and try to improve small steps every day, you can really get very far. And one of the things that I really like about this business is that we build our business helping others to grow. It's not a business that I need to be better than someone. I like that the team members that I work with, I help them to grow, and when they grow, we all grow together.
And if we're thinking about the way that people approach customers in different parts of the world, is there a difference in Poland?
Yes, I think it is, because after so many years in Mexico and living there, and being part of that culture for so many years, and coming back to Europe and especially to Poland, people here are more like introvert. You need to you need more time to build a trust, and to build a relationship. But it's possible. I think that being ourselves and really caring about the people, they find out that you really care about them, So
now, is this a kind of a common Central European thing? Because obviously you're from Slovakia. When you say that maybe Poles are not quite as quick to come forward out of themselves, or is this something that you've particularly noticed in Poland?
Living in several countries, my experience would be that yes, it's more particular in Poland, because of course in Mexico people are much more open, and it's much easier to build a relationship and to talk to people. Even Slovaks, I think we are slightly more open and slightly more like maybe trusting, and here it took me some time and some energies, and yeah, it was challenging in the beginning.
So, approaching the Polish clients, how did or people that you're working with, what is the key in terms of communicating with Polish people?
There are several things, but I think that first it's my courage to step out a little, to come out of my comfort zone, and to have this courage to ask them to offer maybe some natural solution or alternative for their wellness, for their well-being, and then ask questions.
And it's maybe a question of Polish people being very, very anxious about not being sold on something that they don't necessarily want. There's a kind of a door.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of everywhere. We as they say, we don't like to be sold, but we like to buy. So I think that when we get to this person and show them that if it's okay if you consider it or not. I think this is something that works for me, for my family, and I think it might work for you. You can, have a look at it. You can try it. You can maybe test it, and then you'll see. And it's okay. So it takes more time. Maybe Mexicans are like, okay, let's do it. And here's like slower process, and it's okay because I also learned in Mexico and here the same to respect the culture, to respect the people.
It sounds very much as if you've had a bit of an adventure. I'm listening to you speaking perfect English. You speak Spanish, and your husband is Mexican. Your kids are quadrilingual.
Yes.
So what was your journey?
Very rich journey, which I'm grateful for. Many challenges, but also very, many beautiful experiences. After living 27 years in Slovakia, then I left for Mexico for 14 years. I found my family there. 3 of my 4 children were born there. So I imported 3 Slovak Mexicans here to Poland, and now almost 8 years living here in Poland. And I think I've been happy in all of the places because I think that it's something that we carry inside of us, and also with the people around us that we build it, with my husband, with my family, and also here when we are together and we found new friends and new people to be with. It's a challenging adventure, but it's nice. Mm-hmm.
And this journey, or shall we say the ability to adapt, would you say that this is something that everybody has, or does it take a particular kind of person to be an expat?
I think Everyone can do that, but everyone faces different challenges because it's kind of our way of being. I consider myself a very adaptable person, and I'm very maybe or more easy to reach out for people, you know. Actually, I think my kind of business that kind of forces me to do that, because I depend on clients, and it helped me to build and find some beautiful friendships and relationships here in Poland, and the same in Mexico, no? But I know friends that are also expats here, and it takes them more time, you know. Maybe as I'm Slovak and I'm used to this darkness and the climate and cold weather, and maybe things that I missed in Mexico, you know, because of this. I'm very happy to be here back in Europe. But yes, I think anyone can do it, but everyone has to make their own process on it, you know, and be willing to do that.
So you went to Mexico. What was it that you missed about Europe when you were in Mexico? Was it just missing family, or were there sort of specific things about the way that things were done, maybe about the way that the economy worked in Europe compared to Mexico?
Maybe one of the biggest things that I've missed was the security. You know, the possibility to move around, to go to the forest, and you know, enjoy a park. It was not so easy in Mexico, especially with small children.
Now, this is incredible that you're saying this. You mentioned when we spoke earlier about not being able to go to the forest in Mexico.
Yeah, it's quite a topic, you know, because it's not so secure nowadays, you know. In the beginning, it was still simple, and we went to see the monarch butterflies, and we loved with my husband. We spent some time in the beginning. We couldn't have children in the beginning, so we spent a lot of time traveling, and it was great. You know, all the small villages, and little by little, the situation was growing harder. And you know, because of the insecurity, we didn't want to risk, and usually you don't want to expose yourselves to some things, you know. So you learn how to live there, you learn how to move around, but that's one of the things that I'm really grateful for, that we are here in Poland, because here my children can have the childhood that I had. You know, and that's one of the biggest things here for me.
Tell me a little bit about that, though. What does that mean in terms of security?
For example, you travel everywhere by car. You almost never walk on the streets. You know, like here, you take a walk. You know, you never let your children come back from school by themselves. Mm-hmm. You know, in Mexico, never do that. Or, for example, as here, that I tell my son, you know, stay in the car while I'll pick up your brother from the kindergarten. Because in Mexico, it's a too high risk.
And is this only for the international community?
No, it's everyone, you know. And as I told you, I was happy there. I've learned how to move around. I had and still have many beautiful friendships, and really friends that are family, and the family, my husband's family, of course, that I was received really, really with big love, and you know. But in the same time, you know, the future for my children. And for the family, for you know, it's so much better for us here. You know, the quality of life.
And you came to Poland, but why Poland rather than Slovakia?
It was my husband's work choice. You know, so it kind of. He got a position in a company, and they told us that there might be 4 different countries. And when I heard Poland, they said, that's for us, you know. I felt it, you know, in my bones. And generally, I feel like Slovakia, after this huge Mexico, is like too small for me, you know. I love it. I love the mountains. I'm from the Tatras, you know, so I love to go and visit my parents and everything. But Poland is like a good, like, middle golden road. So it was my husband work that we're here, yeah.
But you had to essentially transfer your business over to here and adapt to dealing with these Polish customers, or is it something you can do internationally?
Yeah, actually, that's one of another very big advantages of this business, that you can do it everywhere in the world, especially if your company you work with is in that country. So I have a big team in Mexico. I have people here in Poland, and I can work, and I love it because as you see, I love the languages and I love the cultures. So for me, it's really nice. It's not easy because I cannot be in both places the same quality, So I'm kind of concentrating now, focusing more on a Polish team. But yes, I had to adapt because, I was also working at school in Mexico. I was singing a lot. I had a very kind of hyperactive life, very full, with 3 small children.
And how do you cope with all these languages and all the education systems? What's going on in that household?
It's a very, very nice dynamics, because I admire my children a lot. Because of that, because of course in Mexico they learn Spanish. Well, the youngest one was born here, so they speak fluent Spanish with their father. We also here have a lot of contact with the Spanish-speaking community. So we try to take care of that part so that they don't lose the language and the customs and everything. Then, since they were in my belly, I spoke to them in Slovak always. So they used to this language. And in Poland, we just said, okay, no Polish at home, because you have enough Polish outside. So they've learned Polish like in half a year.
Gosh.
Yeah, I think it was much easier for us because of the Slovak language,
Yes.
I consider myself that I speak quite a good Polish, with all those funny mistakes that make it like more fun, Of course, I'm not afraid to communicate myself, and I encourage my children to do the same all the time.
Okay, but they also do additional schooling in Slovak after school?
Yes. Well, it's not so difficult, but yes, I have to homeschool them a little, because as they have permanent residence in Slovakia, they have to do this primary school exams, to attend the Slovak school for the Slovak language and parts of Slovak history. Yeah, and with 4 children, it's challenging, but we're managing somehow, doing our best. It's going good, and I think it's also good because it forces us a little to give the necessary attention to the language, because otherwise maybe I would not sit down with them and teach them all the grammatical structures, so that's good,
And is there Slovak polluted with Polish words and vice versa?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I think the Poles have a lot of fun with Slovak language, and we have a lot of fun with Polish language.
Because there's the thing, excuse me, I might be mixing it up with Czech, but there's the thing of fresh bread.
It's in Slovakia.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fresh bread, if you say it in Slovak.
Oh, yeah, we call it čerstvé pečivo,
which means, of course,
old bread. Yeah.
old stale bread.
Yes. This is because first świeży is like the fresh air, or fresh water can be like świeży, świeży in Slovak. So čerstvý is fresh in Slovak, and it's first time our neighbor told me, it was like, oh, come on, really? it was fun. Yeah, and also like things like lody na patyku, we have one word for everything, and here in Polish language is like more descriptive, and we love it. We have a lot of fun with it.
Right. Yes. So there's this melange of languages. Yeah. So how does it work at the dinner table? Your husband's there as well. He speaks Slovak.
He understands Slovak.
Oh, he understands.
Yeah, he speaks.
But if he starts the conversation, then it's a Spanish conversation, and then mother's there, and mother will answer in Slovak. Yeah,
we try.
And then the kids will decide who they're going to talk to. They talk to mommy.
Yeah, they're really perfect in that, actually, because if they talk to me, automatically change the channel, into Slovak. And if they turn to their father, they just automatically speak in Spanish. I speak in Spanish to my husband.
Yes, and if a school friend is round for dinner?
Then they speak in Polish, but to me, they always speak in Slovak. They just cannot, are not used to talk to me in Polish, just sometimes, and it's weird,
But then you've got to talk to their friends, so you talk to their friends in Polish.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe the funniest situation is when, for example, the children talk to me and I do not pay attention for some reason. So they just turn to their father and continue the same sentence in Spanish. They just don't repeat it. It's funny, but it works. It's been working for many years now. So I think we're doing something well.
Right. No, I have a similar situation myself. But if kids come round, then I would speak to them in Polish, and probably the kids would say something to me in Polish rather than them saying it to me in English. Yeah, although sometimes the kids who come round, because they've been learning English, then they like speaking English with me as well. But there's a kind of a hierarchy of languages in many ways in terms of who you speak what language to. But we only have those 2 languages, whereas you've got 4.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We like it, and I think that it's also big inheritance for the children. A gift that we gave them in some way. We didn't choose it. It was love in the beginning. that we found each other with my husband. But the family dynamics, it's just like this. Sometimes it's difficult. To consider, changing the countries, and you need to adopt a new identity and readjust everything. And, it's challenging and sometimes difficult. But in the same time, I think that all this family dynamics, it helps us to, to know who we are and keep doing what we're doing, and being ourselves and all that.
So how does it work out, say, for example, at Christmas? Because very often the traditions in one country are very different from another. Which do you follow, or both? Yeah,
we had to build that, through the years, kind of, because it was different before the children and with the children. And we are kind of, now we're in Poland, so we're trying to adapt again. So we decided, some of the traditions are more Mexican, some of the traditions are more Slovak. Now, some of the Polish Christmas traditions, for example, are coming in, that are similar, to Slovak ones, actually, so it's not such a big conflict. And it's nice because we consider it a richness, the really treasure of our family. Also all the Mexican, for example, traditions throughout the years, like Noche de Muertos, and, if you've seen the Coco movie, so it's a living tradition, actually. So we enjoy those so much, and doing our best to bring all the, both words together.
Now, there's life, and then there's things which are more important than life, such as football. Yeah. What happens when there's a match between all of these countries? Who do people support?
Well, it depends, but, we had the conflict a few days ago because my father is Czech, and Czech Republic and Mexico are playing together. Mm-hmm. So in the morning, my children said, Grandpa will be sad, but, well, Mexico won, Yeah, we're really fans of Mexico, so for now, so far it's going well.
Well, indeed, of course, and Mexico has had to adjust to all of these fans coming over. How have they been received in Mexico? Is there any kind of conversations about we love these ones or we don't love these ones so much?
Mexicans just love everyone, I just saw a reel this morning about the Japanese guy who was there in Mexico with Mexico fans, and they just were consoling him, as one of theirs. The same with Korea or other teams. They're just so, maybe empathetic and so like we say cariñoso, like really caring. And it's nice, that part of Mexicans is really beautiful. They're accepting, they're open, they care. So this is a really, and they make party of everything, and they cry with you, they laugh with you. That's a nice part.
Well, Lucia, it's been great hearing your story and feeling some of that international warmth that you bring with you. And thank you very much for being on Poland Today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I was happy to share with you and with your audience all these stories and part of who I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm sure that people who are watching enjoyed that too. And if you're enjoying it, then please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe and keep on watching. Thank you very much from me, David Kennedy, on Poland Today.